Everyone wants to know what the next great San Diego neighborhood is. But by the time everyone knows it's great, the shockingly rapid price appreciation has already happened. The buyers who tend to do the best aren't trying to predict the future perfectly. They're looking for clues. Today, I want to show you exactly how I think about that question. And then I'll walk you through some San Diego neighborhoods I'm personally watching right now. As always, my friends, I'm Dustin J. Backrad, your friend in real estate here in San Diego. Whether you're looking for a place to call home that outperforms the market, maybe you're interested in investing, or you have a place to sell, I help people with these goals every single day. Feel free to reach out to me at the contact information below. Let's get to it. San Diego has very little buildable land left. That means when a neighborhood starts to change, it can happen faster than a lot of people expect. Today's overlooked neighborhood can become tomorrow's hottest market. And when I'm looking for San Diego's next great neighborhoods, I'm asking questions like, where are developers placing billion-dollar bets? Where is the city investing in infrastructure and public spaces? Where are people actually going to want to live in 5 or 10 years from now? The fact is, neighborhoods rarely become desirable overnight. Usually, there are years of clues before prices really start moving. The goal isn't to predict the future perfectly. It's to recognize those clues before they become obvious to everyone else. Some of those major clues can be obvious. Major redevelopment projects, new transit, waterfront improvements, or billions of dollars in private investment. Others are more subtle, like neighborhoods becoming better connected to job centers, attracting new restaurants and amenities, or ones offering larger lots with room to expand and add value. None of these factors guarantee appreciation, but when several of them start lining up at the same time, they can paint a pretty compelling picture of where that neighborhood may be headed over the next decade. With that in mind, here are the San Diego neighborhoods I'm personally watching right now, and importantly, why. Before we jump in, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I look at every comment and will reply. All right, the first neighborhood I'm going to be watching is Chula Vista, but not because of where it is today, because of where it's headed. For decades, Chula Vista had one of the largest stretches of waterfront San Diego Bay, yet surprisingly, little of it was a true destination. Environmental challenges, complicated land ownership, and years of political hurdles kept much of the Bayfront from reaching its potential, despite multiple redevelopment proposals dating back for decades. Today, that's finally changing. After years of coordinated planning and billions of dollars in public and private investment, the waterfront is being transformed into the kind of place people just don't drive past. They come to experience. And when a city's identity begins to change, it often changes the way people value it as well. Projects like this just don't create a new hotel or a new park. They attract visitors, restaurants, jobs, infrastructure improvements, and private investments. Over time, they can completely change how people think about an area. If I wanted to benefit from this transformation, I wouldn't necessarily be looking to buy a brand new luxury condo on the waterfront. Those are exactly what the developers are building. Instead, I'd be thinking about a different question. What's going to become more scarce as this area evolves? For me, that could mean an old bungalow with character. Maybe it's within walking distance to the waterfront, or it could be a property on a larger lot with a room to add an ADU or just to expand it over time. It could simply be just a more affordable home just outside the center of all this investment. As neighborhoods improve, buyers all don't have the same budget. Not everyone can afford a multi-million-dollar waterfront condo, but many people will still want to be close to restaurants, parks, hotels, marinas, and all the action that makes these areas attractive. That demand spills into the surrounding neighborhoods. That's why I'm paying very close attention to the properties that offer something that new construction simply cannot. Character, flexibility, larger lots, redevelopment potential, or simply a more attainable unattainable price point. These are the kinds of properties that could become increasingly difficult to replace as the neighborhood blows up. Of course, that doesn't mean every older home is a great investment. You still have to buy the right property in the right location. But if I were looking for a long-term opportunity, I'd be searching for scarcity, not sameness. Now, none of this happens overnight, so I wouldn't just buy a property and assume everything's gonna work out. I'd be paying attention to the signals that tell me this transformation is taking hold. Are new restaurants and local businesses opening? Are more private developers investing in more projects nearby? Are older properties being scooped up and renovated instead of just torn down? Are people choosing to spend time in the area and not just pass through it? And perhaps most importantly, are the conversations around Chula Vista beginning to change? Real estate is driven by perception just as much as location. When people start saying, "Have you been down there lately?" or "You should really check out what's going on in Chula Vista," that's often a sign that a neighborhood is gaining momentum. That's why this isn't a neighborhood I'm predicting, it's a neighborhood I'm circling. One I'll continue watching for opportunities, the changing trends, and signs that today's investment is becoming tomorrow's destination. Another neighborhood I'm watching closely is Bay Park, but not because Bay Park itself is changing dramatically, it's because it's sitting on the intersection of some of San Diego's biggest long-term trends. And when several trends start pointing in the same direction, that's when I start really paying attention. When I look at Bay Park, I just don't look at the neighborhood itself, I look at the ripple, everything surrounding it. To the south, you have the massive Midway District redevelopment. Over the next decade, that area is expected to add thousands of new homes, new retail, entertainment, parks, an entirely reimagined entertainment district. Just tons of action. This creates demand, and that spreads into all the surrounding communities. Now, to the west is Mission Bay, one of my favorite places in all of San Diego. If you don't know, it's miles of waterfront, beaches, parks, bike paths, marinas. It makes it one of the most desirable places to spend your time. Now, to the north is UTC, which has quietly become one of San Diego's largest employment centers. Between biotech, healthcare, technology, and the universities, thousands of high-paying jobs continue to concentrate there. Bay Park gives residents convenient access to all of these jobs without paying the UDC prices. To the east, the Blue Line trolley connects Bay Park to both downtown and UTC, giving residents another transportation option in a city that has traditionally been very car dependent. As traffic continues to be a challenge throughout San Diego, neighborhoods' strong transit access becomes even more attractive. There's the convenience factor. Bay Park sits just minutes from downtown, the airport, Mission Bay, the beaches, Old Town, and many of San Diego's major employment centers. There aren't many neighborhoods that offer this level of connectivity while still feeling like a quiet, established, beautiful residential community. I start putting the pieces together. Bay Park isn't benefiting from one massive catalyst. It's benefiting from several independent trends that all reinforce one another. If I were looking to invest here, I wouldn't be chasing the newest multi-million-dollar remodel. I'd be chasing scarcity. Original homes, larger lots, properties with an ADU potential, homes walking distance to the trolley or local restaurants. Or lots with views looking over Mission Bay are the kinds of properties that can't be replaced. Developers can always build another modern luxury home. They can't create a view, another oversized parcel, or another charming mid-century home in a beautiful mid-century neighborhood. Over the next decade, I'm watching to see if more local restaurants and businesses continue to open, if older homes keep getting thoughtfully renovated, if demand continues to push into neighborhoods from the surrounding areas, and whether Bay Park becomes known not just a great location, but as one of San Diego's most desirable places to live. That's why Bay Park isn't a neighborhood I'm necessarily predicting. It's a neighborhood I'm confidently circling, one I'll continue watching closely for opportunities, changing trends, and long-term potential. The third area I'm watching is Imperial Beach. And this is probably the most controversial on my list because IB has something that almost every other coastal community in San Diego has. It has a beautiful beachfront, a laid-back lifestyle, a walkable downtown, and and incredible access to the ocean. Yet, despite all of that, it has historically traded at a significant discount compared to nearly every other beach community in the county. The biggest reason is no secret. The long-running cross-border sewage and water quality issues have affected the area for years. Now, I'm not here to tell you that problem has been solved, because it truly has not. But what I am paying attention to is the growing investment, the political pressure, and the infrastructure projects aimed at improving the situation for the long term. Markets are driven by perception just as much as reality. If meaningful progress is made over the next decade, I think it's reasonable to believe that more buyers will begin looking at Imperial Beach differently. When you strip away the pollution issue for just a moment, Imperial Beach has many of the same ingredients that has made San Diego so desirable. Authentic beach town feel, a walkable community, restaurants, parks, beautiful sunsets. It has quick access to places like Coronado, downtown San Diego, and the rest of South Bay. And that's exactly why I'm paying close attention. The market has already priced in this significant amount of today's risk. So the question I'm asking is, what happens if that risk becomes smaller? More than anything else, I'm gonna be watching the water quality itself. Are the long-term infrastructure projects making a measurable difference? Are more restaurants and local businesses opening? Are older homes being renovated? Are boutique hotels and private investments beginning to follow? Are more people choosing IB because they generally want to be there, not simply because it's more affordable? These are the signals I'm looking for. That's why Imperial Beach isn't a neighborhood I'm predicting. It's a neighborhood I'm circling, one I'll continue watching closely. Because if meaningful progress is made on the biggest challenge, the way people value this community will change dramatically over the next decade. If you've noticed, none of these neighborhoods made my list for the same reason. Chula Vista taught us to follow the money. Bay Park reminded us to pay attention to the ripple effect, where major investments nearby can create opportunity without happening directly in the neighborhood. And Imperial Beach shows us something: the biggest opportunities come from asking a different question. What happens if a community's biggest challenge becomes significantly smaller over time? The truth is, nobody can predict exactly which neighborhood outperforms over the next decade. And anyone who tells you they can is probably being overconfident. But I do believe there are clues. Where's the city investing? Where's the private capital flowing? Where are people going to want to spend the next 5 to 10 years from now? And where can you still find unique, scarce properties before everyone else chases them? That's the framework I use when I'm evaluating opportunities in San Diego. And hopefully you have a different way to think about the market as well. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which San Diego neighborhood are you watching most closely? I'm genuinely curious to hear. And if you're thinking about buying, investing, or just want to talk through your strategy, let's link up. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay sharp, and I'll see you next time.